Now here's your host, Jason Voorhees and Aaron Savage.
Oh, yeah!
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Sports and Metal Podcast. We are your hosts. This is Aaron Savage. With me, as always, right over there, my partner in crime, Mr. Jason Voorhees. We're super pumped to be here. Got a lot to talk about this week, but before we get into any of it, we have to thank our number one sponsor, La Terrain Watches. La Terrain Watches is the premier brand at the premier price point of handcrafted affordable watches. You're going to go to their website, www.laterrain.com. That's LA-TOURAINE.com. Use our promo code SNM. That's the letters SNM as in sports and metal, and you're going to save 10% at checkout off your purchase. That being said, let's get started. What's going on, Jay? How are you?
Bro, what's up, man?
Not much, man. I'm pumped to be here. Dude, a lot going on in the world of sports. NFL draft is 5 days away. I know we're pumped about that. NBA playoffs are in full force. You got to be excited about your Sixers, up 3-0 in the series.
3-1.
Oh, they lost now, yeah. You know, I'm not a big basketball guy. So 3-1, you're still up. You're still up. MLB's in full swing. But before we get into any sports, we're going to start with some rock and roll, some metal news this week. It's been all over social media, regular media, monster news. Jason Newsted, about a week ago, he did an interview with the Palm Beach Post. I was reading the reason he did the interview was to promote this project he was supporting to, give kids access to instruments and paintbrushes and stuff. So he went on there with the intentions of promoting this. It was a benefit. But the interviewer at some point during the interview asked him, I don't remember how it came up, but somehow Van Halen came up. And Jason Newsted comes out and says that, 5 months ago he had jammed with David Lee Roth and Joe Satriani and Alex Van Halen rehearsing for a potential Van Halen tribute / reunion tour. Wow. Big news. Meanwhile, you have Wolfie, Eddie's son. Every time he's asked on social media, he's like, F that. There's never going to be a reunion, blah, blah, blah. I got a lot to say about that. I'll get into. But, now it's coming out a few days later. Jason Newsted's all pissed off. He just did another interview with the Gator down in Florida. I think it's 98.7. His band, the Chop House Band, was doing a show. Today's the 23rd. So the show's tonight. I think the interview was today. The show's tonight. Today's Saturday, April 23rd. So tonight in Jupiter, Florida, Jason Newsted's Chop House Band is doing a show. So that he was doing an interview promoting that show. And he went on to say he may never do an interview again because he doesn't trust the media for taking one thing he said out of an entire interview that had nothing to do with the reason he was there and running with it. You know what, though? I can't blame the person for putting that out there. Jason, you got to keep your mouth shut. Joe Satriani did an interview subsequent to that saying he was shocked that Jason said this. Joe Satriani said this is like a thing that's always going on in the music industry where musicians are constantly, jamming with each other for potential, side projects, super groups, tribute projects. And there's so much this, back and forth. And a lot of it just never comes to any kind of fruition, but nobody ever talks about it. It's all top secret until it's announced and it actually comes to fruition. An album comes out or a tour comes out. But everybody's always keeping their mouth shut. So it almost seems like Jason broke a code. Now, I understand him being upset, that he went on there to promote this wonderful benefit he was doing for the children. And Jason Newsted, I love you. That's awesome. And I'm not mad, but I'm just, offering an opinion. Jason, I think you're a little off in saying you might never do an interview and feeling backstabbed when you said something you didn't have to say. The interviewer didn't know about it. Nobody put a gun to your head and said, can you confirm that you're rehearsing for a Van Halen tribute reunion tour? Nobody did that. You just came out and offered the information. And Joe Satriani said he was shocked. I mean, they're not mad, but they were certainly surprised. I don't know how Alex feels about it. One thing I can't wrap my head around is if Alex Van Halen is in on this, and, you would think any kind of Van Halen tribute or reunion would go through him and Wolfie just by virtue of being his son and being in the music business. What I don't understand is why is Wolfie always just so negative on social media? saying, "Oh, I'm sick of you assholes saying there's going to be a reunion. Nobody can ever fill my dad's shoes." I love Wolfie. I do. I really do. And I've always supported him. I always will. But it is almost starting to come off like he's kind of like a spoiled brat. Like he's kind of like just always like, I don't know how much you follow Wolfie on social media. I do. And it's like every time somebody just asks him a question about, "Oh, do you think there'll ever be a Van Halen reunion?" Or, "Oh, what do you think about this rumor?" He's just nasty in his responses. Like, what, am I not good enough? What? I have to live in my father's side? I mean, I don't know. I just think he's kind of bratty. But what do you think about the whole thing, Jay? What are your thoughts on all of this?
I mean, I remember
I threw a lot of information at you right there.
Well, yeah. I mean, I remember when you first kind of brought it up, and my initial reaction was like, I actually thought, listen, to Wolfie's point, nobody will ever fill Eddie's shoes. I get that. We all get that. But Eddie's not here, okay? So he's not coming back. He passed away. Listen, a lot of people sadly pass away. Like that's a part of life. Do I necessarily think that there shouldn't be a tribute band or a tribute like project to
or a tribute show? Maybe a big one-off send-off.
Well, and that's my point. And I think like maybe there needs to be a middle ground on it, because I think the way that Wolfie's acting is like almost like, okay, well, he's dead now, so like, let's just move on. But like in reality, like I think there's a ton of people out there that want to or that do appreciate and still want to enjoy the music. And frankly, listen, it's the same thing that I've seen these discussions come up a lot with, in times where there's been bands that have kind of, lost members, and then, well, can they have a reunion? Like we've heard it with Pantera forever. Yeah. Pantera is probably the biggest one that I can remember. Like
up until this point, certainly.
It was like, is there going to be a Pantera reunion? And, I know a lot of times they said, okay, well, the perfect complement to Dimebag would be like, to Zakk Wylde, because similar guitar style, similar, like,
and great buddies.
Well, exactly. So I've seen that. So I guess I'm in the middle here, because part of me is like, yeah, nobody will ever compare to Eddie Van Halen. But listen, I've heard Matt Stanley play Van Halen pretty much, I mean, not Eddie Van Halen-esque, but like as close to note for note as you could possibly get. He's phenomenal. And it sounds
For those
great.
that don't know, Matt Stanley's a local guy here in the New Jersey, Philadelphia area. That's a young up-and-coming talent. And he plays in a couple cover projects, tribute bands, I should say. One being the Land of Oz, which is like an unbelievable Ozzy tribute band. If you're ever in the Northeast and you have a chance to check them out, you want to check out the Land of Oz. Matt Stanley nails Randy Rhoads note for note. I mean, he's unbelievable. And he also plays in another tribute project called Van Halen Nation. And he nails Eddie note for note. So that's just for those of you that don't know who Matt Stanley is. Now you do, and look him up, YouTube him, check out the Land of Oz, check out Van Halen Nation. You got to see this kid play guitar. Go on, Jay. Sorry.
Well, no, thank you for that, because you're right. Our listeners on audio won't, know they might not.
Or hear on video if they don't know who he is. But yeah, go on.
Point I'm making is that he does a tremendous job playing it. Why couldn't a Joe Satriani, fill in and like you said, maybe they do a show or a few shows like in California, where Van Halen, started. Like, why can't that happen? I guess that's.
I don't think it's a question of whether or not Joe Satriani could play the songs. I mean, Joe Satriani is a guitar god unto himself. It's just a matter of like he's not Eddie, and we get that. I don't have any question about how I feel. I think it'd be fucking awesome. I think it has to happen. I think it's awesome. And again, back to how Wolfie's kind of rubbing me the wrong way. Outside of the fact that his last name is Van Halen, shouldn't Michael Anthony be involved in this thing? Shouldn't that have happened before Eddie died? All due respect to Wolfie, I love you to death. But Van Halen, if we're talking Van Halen, was David Lee Roth, Michael Anthony, Alex Van Halen, and Eddie Van Halen. So if we're going to do it, can we do it right? And can we not necessarily worry about what Wolfgang says? All due respect, especially if he has nothing nice to say at all. Remember when your mom told you when you were a kid, if you don't have anything nice to say, don't say anything at all? Hey, Wolfie, stop being negative. I would be 100% in your corner if Alex was saying this. But if there's word that Alex Van Halen is actively trying to recruit artists to participate in a project in tribute to his late brother, then Wolfie, you got to be on board. You've got to be on board. One other thing I find completely interesting, and it speaks volume about the relationship with the Van Halens and Sammy Hagar at this point, is that there's no word of Sammy Hagar having any involvement in this. Now, I know that Sammy said before Eddie died, he spoke to him, and it was tough, and he hadn't talked to him in so long, but it speaks volume to how much their relationship was fractured. And I hope that it's not there now. I hope that we're past that. And if they do this tribute, not only would I be okay with like Alex Van Halen, Joe Satriani, and whoever's on bass, and whether it's, speaking of that, we're talking about Jason Newsted, a bass guitar player. We're talking about Wolfie. Maybe he's just pissed off because he wasn't involved. Now that I'm actually thinking this through, right? Jason Newsted's a bass player. Joe Satriani is a guitar player. David Lee Ross is a singer, and Alex is a drummer. There's your four. I still get back to why isn't Michael there, but it just goes again, like, why is Wolfie so miserable? Maybe that's why he's not invited. I don't know. Again, I'm speculating, but it just seems like Wolfie has become a real cranky brat, and I hate to say that. But again, whether those guys are involved, I'd also like to see Sammy Hagar involved. I'd like to see other guys come in and contribute and play on stage. Dude, I just think of Freddie Mercury's tribute concert. It's to this day, it's like my favorite concert of all time. When Freddie Mercury passed away and they had the big send-off concert after he passed away at Wembley Stadium, you had all these bands and artists come out and do like abbreviated sets on their own. Some did their own music, like Metallica. The Black Album was just dropping, so they did. They opened with Enter Sandman, then they did Sad But True, and then they actually closed with Nothing Else Matters. So it was an abbreviated 3-song set. But then you had bands like Extreme who came out and they did like a 20-minute medley of all Queen stuff, and it was unbelievable. And then they closed out with like an acoustic version of More Than Words. You had Guns N' Roses come out and do epic renditions of Knocking on Heaven's Door in Paradise City. So you had all these artists come out and do their own stuff. But then you had like the whole ending of the concert, the headlining part was Queen themselves, the surviving members of Queen. Roger Deacon, Roger Taylor, Brian May, all out there playing with various guest artists. Like you had Tony Iommi played guitar the whole thing as a guest with them, I remember. And you had like all different artists. You had David Bowie and Annie Lennox came out with the surviving members of Queen and did a duet of Under Pressure. Annie Lennox did Freddie's part. David Bowie did his own part. You had James Hetfield came out and did Stone Cold Crazy with them. Axl came out and did We Will Rock You with them. And then Elton John came out and did Show Must Go On with them. And then combined, they did Bohemian Rhapsody, whereas Elton did all the slower parts. And then Axl comes out, so you think you can stop me? You get it. So, I mean, it was epic and it was fucking awesome. And I think Van Halen deserves the same type of send-off. They deserve Eddie. I shouldn't say they, but yes, they, the band, because Van Halen's done without Eddie. We get it. But Eddie himself deserves such a send-off. And Wolfie shouldn't be so negative about it. It's the fans expressing their love for him and these other artists expressing their love and appreciation for what he brought to the table and his influence on them. And it's funny you brought up Pantera because it's so true. But to me, there was a couple of differences. One, it's awesome when you think of the connection there. Dimebag was buried with Eddie's Van Halen 2 guitar in his casket. You know that, right?
I do.
Eddie was at the funeral. He put that guitar in Dime's casket. So it's forever immortalized in Dime's casket. And they were the biggest, Vinny and Dime, biggest Van Halen fans. Another thing, I don't know if you know, every show before the Pantera hit the stage and then later with Damage Plan, when Vinny and Dime were in Damage Plan after Pantera broke up, whenever Vinny and Dime were about to hit the stage with either of those bands, they would go, one of them would go Van Halen, the other one would go Van Halen. And that was when they knew they were ready to go out and play. So the connections there are just very, really cool. But the differences were, I think Phil just sucks now. His voice is shot. And again, just the animosity. You're talking a murder on stage, and I feel like Vinny just never forgave Phil. Never. Until he died with that. And Phil had to never have made those amends with Vincent because, Vinny blamed Phil in a lot of ways for that deranged dude going up on the stage at the Damage Plan show in Ohio and shooting Dime because Phil had done that interview. I forget who it was with, Guitar World or whatever, where he said, Dime deserves to be beaten severely. My best Phil Anselmo voice. Dom deserves, you know. But anyway, so I mean, I could see why that never happened because this is different. This is a celebration. I don't think that could have happened with Pantera because that bad blood's not here. You know what I mean? And if anything, like I said, there was never that kind of bad blood with Sammy and the Van Halen brothers as far as like somebody getting shot. So I don't see any reason why Sammy couldn't participate. But that's where I'm at with this. That's where I'm at with it. Anyway, speaking of Jason Newsted, if you haven't checked out his Chop House band, check it out. I don't know if you know this. The Chop House band, Jay, dates all the way back to like 1991 when he was in Metallica. And it was like, it was initially like all Bay Area dudes. Like Jim Martin from Faith No More was in it. Guys from Exodus were in it. And it was basically, it was always like Johnny Cash centric. They play like a lot of that kind of rootsy outlaw country type of stuff, hence the name, the Chop House Band. They do like Tom Waits, stuff like that. But it was just a way for them to get out, as Jason said in the interview I saw today, get out of that regimented way of being like with their main bands, regimented touring, regimented. They just wanted to go on stage and have fun, you know, smoke a little, drink a little, and just go out there and do something completely different from what they did. And Jason's still doing it. So you haven't seen the Chop House Band, check them out. It's definitely, if you don't know about them and you think of Jason as just being like a thrash guy, it'll blow your freaking mind. He does vocals and it's, dude, I mean, it's crazy. You'd never think he does it. So check him out. Anyway, you got anything to add to that, Jay?
Your book? No, that was like pretty intense there. No, I like I said, I think I already got my point across. I think it would be awesome to see, and I'm with you. I don't know why Wolf is so anti anything to like try to remember his father as opposed to like, you know, just like even the mention of his name, it seems like it pisses him off. And I just don't understand.
Bizarre.
So, yeah, I agree. I think he needs to grow up. And
again, I mean, we don't know everything, so I don't want to like definitively say it, but it just comes off very bratty. Very like spoiled. You know what I mean? I can't explain it.
Absolutely.
You know, and he basically puts fans into a corner where they're like, the only reason you are who you are is because of your last name, which in many ways is true. And it's not taken away from Wolf's talent because the dude's so talented. He's uber talented and he plays every instrument. But there's a lot of people that are that talented that never make it because their last name's not Van Halen. You know, they're playing in some bar, you know, in Bubblefuck, Ohio, and never got a break. So I think sometimes Wolfie needs to not forget where he comes from. You know what I mean? Anyway, why don't we move on? The title of tonight's episode is Mike Tyson's Punch Out. And unless you've been under a rock the last week, you saw Mike Tyson pummeled some dude on a plane. Mike was flying from San Francisco to Atlanta. And some overzealous fan was drunk on the plane. And he was just hassling him. He was behind him, talking in his ear. You see the video. He's like pointing at his head and stuff. God knows what he's saying. And Mike just finally got sick of it. And he punched him a few times. The police were called. I think initially the dude said he wasn't going to file any charges. But I think now he's actually – well, I saw today he's lawyered up, the dude that Mike hit. And he's saying that Mike Tyson used excessive force. I saw one of the commenters on one of our social media pages today said if Mike used excessive force, this dude wouldn't be standing. His head would be inverted, which is ironically true. It looks like Mike got him with a few knuckles to the forehead, enough to like bust him up a little bit. But still, man, it's crazy. You're Mike Tyson. You got to not do that because of who you are. You know what I mean? You're going to get sued, but I can't blame him, dude. And it's coming out. His camp is saying that the dude threw a bottle at him. Like a plastic bottle on the plane. It started out friendly. Like the guy got on with the plane with a buddy and they asked for autographs. Mike was very nice to them, did selfies with them. But the guy just wouldn't stop. He was sitting right behind Mike, pointing at him, like just not leaving him alone. Apparently Mike Tyson told him to chill and he just kept going. And then supposedly there's nothing on the video of the bottle throw, but supposedly he threw a plastic bottle at him, they said. And then Mike just lost it and, punched him in the head. Another passenger, Sarah Birchfield, said that before the flight, she saw the man at an airport bar where he was loud and quarrelsome. She said, when I boarded the flight, I thought, oh, no, that drunk guy is on our flight. So, I mean, the dude was drunk. I read he has got a little bit of a criminal record, too. Now, here's the thing that's funny. This happened on a plane. Mike was on a flight, from San Fran to I said Atlanta, Georgia. I'm wrong. He was flying to Miami. I apologize. He was flying from San Francisco to Miami, Florida. And the reason he was going to the Benzinga Cannabis Capital Conference after party, where he appeared with wrestling legend Ric Flair at the Fontainebleau, Miami Beach. Hence why we made the banner here, Mike Tyson's Mile High Club. I don't know if you knew this, Jay, but Mike Tyson, he has a cannabis brand called Tyson 2.0. It offers several strains of cannabis flower, as well as ear-shaped edibles, in reference to his infamous 1996 bout against Evander Holyfield. Did you know that?
Now that is pretty funny.
Yeah, it is. Yep. Hey, what do you think of this, dude? It's crazy.
Well, I mean, first and foremost, as you said, like Mike Tyson being a former boxer, obviously, probably could still kick the shit out of.
Oh, he just did that. He just did that exhibition with Roy Jones Jr. He looks like he's in the best shape he's been in since he was 20.
That's what I mean. He could probably beat up 99.9% of the population, but that in itself is a big no-no of why he shouldn't have done what he did. But secondly, the fact that he's such a high-profile figure. I mean, anybody that's that high-profile realistically should have the kind of wherewithal to know that if they do cross that line, there's going to be trouble. I mean, it could be anybody, but he's obviously super high profile, has a lot of money. So, the guy's going to sue. And like you said, maybe the guy, at first said he wasn't going to press charges, but I'm sure that people were in his ear and said, like, dude, you can get a lot of money off of this. Like,
you're right.
I mean, like, anybody in their right mind would not, like, pursue something like that in this situation. Whether or not
they would not pursue it. Yeah,
exactly. Whether or not the guy was belligerently drunk or the aggressor.
Well, dude, here's the thing: whether or not he was belligerently drunk, he's the only one that was hit. Yeah. So he's got a case. Mike Tyson punched him.
I mean, listen, like you said, Mike wasn't wrong because the guy was being.
I'm with Mike 100%. I mean, he has to have restraint. He has to.
Yeah, I mean, I don't understand. I guess maybe I'm wondering, was there any security involved? Like, did somebody try to step in beforehand, or was this?
No, there's video. I guess you haven't watched it, dude. They're just sitting there, and a guy's across the aisle filming it, and the guy's just hassling Mike from behind.
Yeah, I don't understand why he's hassling him. That's
because he was like a fan. I guess he was hammered drunk. Think about it. Dude, we've all been there. You're hammered drunk. You're leaning over somebody. I love you, man. And I guess Mike was just turning him down as far as saying, chill, get away. I guess the guy escalated it a little bit. You don't see one thing that is not good, unless there's some other video that we haven't seen. There's no video of the bottle throw that Mike Tyson's camp alleges.
Yeah, that's not good.
Yeah.
I mean,
put it this way. I think Mike's going to end up paying some money out, which is a damn shame because this guy's an asshole. The guy deserves to be knocked the frick out.
I mean,
but this is the world we live in.
Like the commenter said on our Facebook, if he did use, what's the word? Excessive force. The guy probably would have been in a hospital bed, not able to,
Dude, Mike could have caved his face in.
Exactly. So let's be real here. I'm sure, Mike's going to pay out, but at the end of the day, Mike has enough money to the point where it's probably not going to,
the guy's just got a couple lumps on his head.
But in the scheme of things, I just think it's funny that Mike Tyson is in the news still.
For this kind of shit.
But he's still relevant. It's almost like OJ. At this point in time, you still see OJ stories, because OJ's all over.
Hey, that's not fair to Mike. Let's not compare Mike Tyson to OJ.
Wow.
Jay, bad look right there. You might be punched by Mike next.
You can come get me. Then I'll be rich.
There you go. No, but I get your point, dude. I mean, it just seems like this kind of shit follows Mike Tyson everywhere, right?
It seems like every 5 to 10 years, Mike Tyson's in the news.
Yeah, there's some big Mike Tyson story.
Whether it was him actually fighting or something outside of extracurricular.
Outside of the ring. But how funny is it, dude? Fucking
Well,
hot
I think it's
edibles.
hilarious about the edible ears.
Yeah, edible ears.
Now I want to just see what these things look like. Now that you're bringing it up. Like, honest to God, like edible freaking ears.
Yeah, that's funny as hell. Anyway, dude, let's get personal a little bit. We got our teams, Major League Baseball.
Personal.
If you watch our show, you know I'm a Mets fan. You know Jay's a Phillies fan. So where you at, Jay? How do you feel?
Annoyed.
Well, dude, I have to get into this because
all
I heard was you guys about your lineup and the Mets suck. So that's the only reason I'm even doing this.
Wait a sec.
You didn't. Other people did.
Okay, so make sure you make that known.
Okay.
Okay. First and foremost, where am I at? Well, first and foremost, I'm happy for you, Aaron. You're my best
It's
friend.
early.
Listen, you're my best friend. Okay. I've been in your shoes where, the Phillies were even years where they were supposed to have good teams. They just underperformed and shit the bed and just had bad years. You right now have a reason to gloat a little bit, not only because of the Mets, but also the Dolphins. Your two teams are both on their way, let's say, upward to the point where they are going to be relevant. Now, that's not knocking the Phillies, but we'll get more into that. But you know where I'm at with my team. I'm not as enthralled and I'm not as happy with the Phillies as you are with the Mets. And for reasons that I've kind of stated numerous times, and I know that you kind of don't always agree with what I say, but obviously that's why, we have this show, because we can debate stuff. But there is no way right now that you could tell me that I know you said it's early, but I in the beginning of the year picked the Mets as my division winner, and I'm sticking to that.
You
I did.
I didn't realize you did. Maybe I'm forgetting.
I realistically believe that the Mets actually have a legitimate shot at winning the World Series this year. I just have a feeling they have that aura to them that it's like something special this year that I haven't saw in years past. And the reason I'm saying that is just, and I know that you talk about it a lot. You've brought it up on this show numerous times. You brought it up on Phil's show when you were on our morning show about how it's basically a different vibe and a different atmosphere because of the fact that you have a new owner that actually cares and wants this team to succeed and is doing and has done everything in his power to make this team viable to the point where they can win a World Series. And a lot of the things that I look at about the Mets aren't exactly what things that they did this year. It's guys like Francisco Lindor, who, let's face it, only 2 years ago was an elite. Well, he is elite, but was probably top two or at least the third best shortstop in Major League Baseball.
He was maybe a top 5 player in baseball.
And that's my point.
Not just shortstop.
The guy was amazing. Had probably definitely his worst year, but probably like one of those years where they just say it's a career worst year. It's definitely not.
There was nowhere to go but up. Yeah.
So you got that going. And I'm not even talking about Scherzer and, like I said, the additions that you made, but I'm looking at things that just about the Mets in general coming into this year before you made any kind of free agent moves. You already had Lindor. You talked about it numerous times, too, about McNeil, a guy that realistically could win a batting title. Still, I mean, he was very close 2 years ago to winning a batting title. The guy hits the ball very well. I'm not saying he's, a superstar stud, but he's a guy that's going to consistently put up good numbers.
I think he's a guy that Major League Baseball needs more of, and I'm going to get into that league-wide in a minute. I will. But go on. I'm listening.
So I look at those two things in itself. I look at Pete Alonso, who you know how I feel about Pete Alonso. He's actually my favorite Met.
I know you love Pete.
I love him.
Pete.
I think he's honestly like a throwback power hitter. He's not one of these power hitters that only hits 220 and strikes out 200 times. Like, not that he doesn't strike out, but Pete Alonso's actually what I would consider one of the best elite power hitters right now in our game.
Oh, I agree.
And it's not even close, dude, because he hits. I mean, I don't know what I don't have his numbers in front of me, but I believe he hit like 270, 275.
Yeah, Pete's like a 265 hitter,
okay, and that's what I'm
strikeouts.
talking about. He doesn't hit like 210 and hit 40 bombs.
Yeah.
And if you look at his numbers this year, he's already leading the major leagues in RBIs, and it's early.
Mm-hmm.
Dude, this team is serious. And you said it about how I was undervaluing
the Mets lineup.
Evaluating the lineup.
I agree, dude. I agree. I'm really excited for the Mets. I really am. But you brought up some interesting stuff I wanted to get into here. We just talked about Jeff McNeil. Dude, Jeff McNeil is one of the few players in Major League Baseball that when we grew up watching baseball, everybody was like Jeff McNeil. Doesn't strike out a ton, can hit 300, goes the other way, makes contact, plays situational baseball, moves a runner over when he needs to. And it brings up an interesting point. You ready for this? We're not going to bore the audience with Mets Phillies talk. That's just me and you bullshitting for a minute. Let's get into like some national stuff here. Some major league-wide shit. There are currently 56 batters hitting at or below 200. The league batting average as a whole is 231. That's the lowest league batting average in the history of baseball dating back to 1871. Dude, that speaks volumes about the modern day approach that only values launch angle, walks, and home runs. And I was on Facebook today when I came across this, and somebody commented, oh, well, you can't go by that. You have to look at OPS. And I responded, I said, you know what? And therein lies the problem. OPS values only power, extra base hits, and walks. That's all it values. OPS doesn't value if you drive a runner home from third with a ground out, as opposed to you struck out with the runner on third and you stranded him there, right? OPS doesn't value that. OPS, the guy that strikes out and strands the guy at third, he might end up having an higher OPS if he walks his other 3 at-bats and then gets stranded on first himself because his on-base percentage is going to be fucking 750 in that game. And OPS values on base percentage plus slugging percentage. I know I'm really giving a microscopic example. My point is, I think OPS is a very good stat. I think it's cool that it was added to the vernacular. It was a stat that we can now look to value another aspect of a player's performance. But it's not what these people that are obsessed with OPS want it to be. It's not the be-all, end-all stat. There's no perfect stat. Just like the OPS lovers argue against batting average, I will argue against OPS because I will admit batting average isn't the perfect stat either. I remember seeing certain guys over the years and saying, man, this is the softest 300 I've ever seen. This is the softest 300 season I've ever seen. You know, a guy hits 306, but it just like punch and Judy, never drives a runner in when it matters. You know what I mean? Because there's certain things that don't show up in a box score. Certain things that a 310 batting average aren't going to tell you. Just like OPS isn't going to tell you if you drive a runner home with a ground out from third base. That's what's missing from today's game, Jason. Fundamentals are not valued. So guys are hitting fucking 220 league-wide. They're hitting 231 because they don't know how to hit. Athleticism is being valued solely in and of itself. Fundamentals don't matter anymore. It's just about athleticism, launch angle, power. Same with the pitching. Can you throw 100 miles an hour? If you could throw 100 miles an hour, hey, we're going to sign you. We're going to throw you an A-ball. We're going to see what we can do with you. Hey, you play shortstop? Did you just track you can't hit very well? You don't have a good launch angle? Wait. You play shortstop. You hit 325 in the low minors, but you had no power. You only struck out 10 times in 200 at-bats. But you throw 100 miles an hour from shortstop to first, we're going to make you a pitcher. Because that type of hitter is not valued anymore. But the 100-mile-an-hour throw is, dude, the game is so fucking broken. And if you can't see it, if the audience can't see it, if people in general can't see it, I don't know what to do because the numbers back it up, Jay. 231 is the lowest batting average in Major League Baseball since the 1870s. And the games are 4 hours long. And young people are watching at the lowest clip of all time. There's games where the ball doesn't get put in play for hours at a time. We've been up and down talking about this. There's games where the pitcher plays catch with the catcher for 2 hours because there's nothing but walks, strikeouts, and the occasional home run. That is boring. As exciting as the home run is, it's not exciting when that's all that there is. Jay, tell me if you agree with this. The reason the home run was always so exciting is because it wasn't the expectation. Would you agree with that? When something becomes the expectation, it's no longer exciting.
I mean, I agree with you 100%. Can I give you an example of that?
Yeah.
I mean, just last night, I was at the Phillies game. I was there in person. Can I be honest with you?
Yeah.
They won the game. Dude, it was boring as shit. That's my first baseball game that I've been to in almost a year. I think the last one I went to was with you.
Yeah, last August we were there.
When we were at the Mets, Phillies.
Yep.
Okay? Dude. The Phillies and Brewers, the Phillies won the game. And at the end of the game, they came back. They were down 2-1. But there was one stretch there. I'm trying to look. I'm pulling up where's the innings at? Where they scored. Okay. So in the first inning, Phillies scored a run. Third inning, Brewers scored, right? There wasn't another run scored till the 7th inning, dude. And the game was a 4-hour game. Talk about it, yeah. Dude, it's boring. I had more fun watching all of the outside noise at the game as opposed to the play on the field. And I'm a baseball fan, a diehard.
Dude.
That is what I'm getting. Dude, I was bored out of my mind. Like, I was pissed off. Obviously, I was happy that they won. But, dude, it was talk about, like, a game that was just like, my God.
Yeah. And it's walks. It's walks and strikeouts. It's not that you didn't like that there were no runs scored from the 2nd to the 7th, because that can be exciting. It's the way the game is played. It's not like the innings are quick, right? It's not like a guy goes out to the mound, he throws ball 1. Second pitch, guy fouls it off. Third pitch, guy hits a sharp grounder to the shortstop. Shortstop one hops it, throw to first, 1 out. Second batter, first pitch, long fly ball caught at the warning track. Third batter, line drive base hit the other way on the second pitch of the at-bat. Next batter works a 2-2 count, fouls a couple pitches off, ground ball to second base, they get the force. In and out, quick inning, the ball's put in play, so you're watching the defenders move around, you're seeing plays. Dude, guys are standing in the field for 20, 30 minutes at a time in innings. It's crazy,
Dude,
you know? It's absolutely crazy. It's boring to watch. It's not – dude, anytime you go to a sporting event, you want to see action, right? You want to see action. That's why fucking replay is boring if they're taking 10 minutes to make the call. What's the difference if you're watching a 30-minute inning and there's not one ball put in play?
And herein lies the entire problem with why baseball has lost its way. Dude, and it's not getting better. Like, they think that they've put these things in and to speed up the game. It's made it worse. Dude, Aaron, I was mind-boggled last night. Like I said, it's not what's going on. It's the way that it's going on. And listen, like I said, I love old school pitching duels. But let's face it, they're few and far between, like the perfect game or no hitter. Even though no hitters have become more common, they're still uncommon compared to the normal game that I watched last night. That's 4 hours long, and it consists of 17 walks obviously.
Well, no, I'm going to tell you right now, there were 22 strikeouts in the game you were at last night, and there were 8 walks. 8 walks and 22 strikeouts. And here's the other aspect to it. There were 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 pitching changes. Dude, so you take the strikeouts and the walks. There's no balls being put in play for those plays. Guys are standing there, and it takes forever because hundreds of pitches are being thrown. Then you factor the pitching changes. Every time a pitching change takes place, that's a delay of the game, right? Go to commercial break, guy has to warm up. That's a delay of the game. Then you take replay. All they've done is slow the game down in an era where they're trying to promote speeding the game up. It's literally insane. And I know this has nothing to do with what you were saying, but I'll just add to it as far as these rule changes making me sick. It actually goes back to the Utley Ruben Tejada play back in the 2015 playoffs when Chase Utley was on the Dodgers and they were playing the Mets. And remember, he did that really epic takeout slide and broke Tejada's leg. Now, we didn't have this podcast yet back then, so nobody heard me and you going at it. At the time, as a Mets fan, I was pissed, and I'm bashing Utley. And I still think it was a little bit of a dirty slide because he went way out of the baseline and he went like basically full tackle mode to take Tejada out. But dude, I never wanted a rule change because of it. I'm allowed to be pissed at Chase Utley and say you're an asshole for doing that and it's a dirty play, but I don't want him to not be able to do it. See, this is how you know I'm not a biased fan. I'm not a homer. I don't want Chase Utley to not be able to do what he used to do or any other player. Did you see that play with McCutchen last night? This is what I'm getting to. McCutchen slid into the bag and did a takeout slide, which wasn't even really a takeout slide. All he did is slightly elevate his leg to prevent the shortstop from making the throw to first to complete the double play, but he didn't go out of the baseline at all, and he was able to slide right into the bag. The rule change, the Utley rule, states that you can't leave the baseline and you can't slide in a way that's going to make you not get to the bag to take out a defender. Like I just said, I'm completely against that rule because to me, that's part of the game. Same as like being able to collide with the catcher and knock the ball out of his hand at home plate. There's always an inherent risk that you're going to get hurt playing sports. Stop pussifying the game. But that being said, I don't want to lose my train of thought. McCutchen, the rule is you can't leave the baseline. You can't slide where you can't get to the bag. McCutchen did neither, and they automatically called him out. So not only did they make a ridiculous rule, but they don't even know how to interpret their own rule. Bro, it's a killer. These are the people that love OPS. These are the type of people that love OPS only. And they love launch angle. They don't want home plate collisions. They don't want takeout slides. They're ruining the fucking game. These are the same ass clowns that want to start the extra innings with a runner on second base. These are the same jagoffs that want to have a fucking 3-batter rule for pitching changes. Enough. Stop trying to reinvent the wheel. The wheel works. The wheel works. Leave it alone.
Mic drop.
Mic drop.
Analytics suck.
Analytics suck.
That's my Cliff Notes version to what we just talked about. Analytics suck.
It's ruining the game. Ruining the game. And the numbers don't lie. League-wide batting average of 231, lowest since 1871. That is boring baseball. That is boring baseball. And I'll say it before we change the subject. OPS does not value fundamentals. OPS does not value if you drive a runner in with an out. OPS does not value if you bunt runners to second and third, and the next hitter drives them in with a base hit, and you get 2 runs. If you have 3 strikeouts in the inning with runners on second and third and nobody out, you don't score. You don't score. You don't score. And then in the next inning, you hit 2 home runs, so your OPS is through the fucking roof. Then you don't have any other hits the rest of the game, but you walk 6 times, but you score no more runs. So great, you lost the game 6-2, but your OPS was way up there, right? Your OPS was great. Get the fuck out of here. I'm done.
Mic drop again.
All day on this shit.
2-2.
Sorry, bro. Anyway,
drop,
let's cheer ourselves up. We're going to get to the picks. Wait, let me see if we had any comments on that. Anything related to that. We did not have any on that, so we'll just move on. Picks of the week, brother. Who's going first? Who's going first? Oh, there it is. You put the background up, which automatically means I'm going first. So my pick of the week is an album that's not actually out yet. I believe it drops May 27th, and I'm super pumped for it. And honestly, bro, it's Def Leppard. I will be honest with you. Back in the day, anytime there was news that Def Leppard was going to be coming out with a record, I was pumped. Because you talk about my favorite bands. Anybody that knows me, Guns N' Roses is my favorite. But like right there for me is Van Halen, Def Leppard, AC/DC. That's got to be my awesome foursome all time. But then I love Metallica, Cruise. There's a lot of honorable mentions there. But like Guns, AC/DC, Van Halen, Def Leppard. That's my Mount Rushmore, right? So, but then after Slang, it just became like Euphoria was solid. But then they had like that album 10. It just became so like drippy pop.
Mundane.
Mundane, repetitive. And it's like it's not that I didn't enjoy those records, but I didn't get that excitement anymore. The last record they came out with was the self-titled Def Leppard album in 2015. A lot of stuff on it I like a lot, but there's also like filler. It's an overlong record. And I don't know if I'd even call it filler because it's actually all really solid material. It's just not Def Leppard. It's not what we want to hear. Like Def Leppard had their experimental phase. They did their pop records. I think at this point in their careers, they're diehard fans. They just want to hear a vintage Def Leppard record. Now, I'm not expecting High and Dry at this point in their career, but something along the lines of Hysteria Pyromania I'll take. And again, their new album comes out May 27th, so it's not fully released yet. But here in the first two singles, for the first time in quite a while, I am pumped for a Def Leppard record. So that's my pick of the week, Jay. The Def Leppard upcoming album, Diamond Star Halos. First single, Kick, was released about a month ago. I liked it, didn't love it. So that song didn't get me pumped for the record. It's the next song that got me pumped. And then when I combine it with Kick, the first single, I feel really good about this record coming out because the first single, Kick, kind of grew on me. I could see what they were doing. They're trying to go for that pop song where everybody's going to be singing it in a bar or you go to a party. Kick, I don't want to kick your habit. It's got that catchy hook. But they just dropped a couple days ago the second single, Take What You Want. And bro, it's not like super duper heavy Def Leppard. Like it's not High and Dry. We're not going to get that. It doesn't have the super high pitched Joe Elliott vocals because I don't expect that at this point in his career. The guy's 60, but it's as close to that as we're going to get. And it's as close to anything that I've heard to that sound in many years. And Jay, why don't you why don't you put it on here a little bit? The second single from the upcoming Def Leppard album, Diamond Star Halos. It's called Take What You Want. You ready to cue it up, Jay? We'll do a little sample of it.
I am.
All right, let's rock on this. Put it on. Just waiting for Jay to pull it up here. That's arpeggiated opening. Keep going. Keep playing. All right, pull it out. We're just about to get to the chorus. Yeah, for some reason we're pulling these videos up. We're not getting a great sound, but it doesn't do it justice. But I don't know if you got a little idea what it was. Dude, it opens with this great arpeggiated opening that really kind of throws back to like the beginning of like Rock Till You Drop from Pyromania. Like it's like just classic Def Leppard with the arpeggiated.
I thought it was phenomenal. Are you kidding me?
Yeah, no, that's what I'm saying. I'm just saying the sound of the video wasn't phenomenal.
Oh yeah, but I mean,
that's my point. The song's phenomenal. Yeah, it's got that classic Def Leppard arpeggiated opening, and it comes in with this hard riff. And we didn't get to the chorus. The chorus is real hooky. The guitar solo rips. It really shows off the talents of Vivian Campbell and Phil Collin. But, dude, if you haven't checked it out, just at least give it a taste. And I think you're going to be really pleasantly surprised if you're a Def Leppard fan, kind of like longing for that classic Def Leppard sound. The latest single is called Take What You Want, and the upcoming album comes out May 26th. I think I said May 27th. Comes out May 26th, 2022, and it's going to be called, it is called Diamond Star Halos. That's my pick of the week, brother. What do you got for us?
Dude, I'm freaking psyched now.
Hell yeah. It has a nice sound, right?
Definitely. Yeah. Well, so I changed my mind. So I had a new album for my pick of the week, but when we dropped the Van Halen, huge news about the possible reunion tribute / project, it got me thinking. And, I've obviously, I've done deep dives on different albums and stuff like that. And it's funny because for me, there's an album by Van Halen that I actually think is extremely underrated. And I don't think it ever realistically gets the credit or just due that it really deserves. Not saying it's their best album, but I just think it's an album that's actually very good. And I listened to it a lot when it came out. And me of all people, obviously, I always prefer the Sammy Hagar stuff to the David Lee Roth stuff. So this isn't a surprise that this album is on my, pretty high list. And that album is Balance.
Yes. You told me before the show. That's why I said me too for anybody listening.
And it's crazy because, like I said, a lot of times I see people dissing it. And I don't know. Like, for me, it's not even about the hits because, let's face it, the album has quite a few hits. I mean, Don't Tell Me What Love Can Do, obviously, is like real freaking heavy. It's got that. And then obviously Can't Stop Loving You. That's kind of like, classic, Sammy Hagar type.
Sappy ballad.
A little more than a ballad, but yeah, a little heavier than a ballad to me, but it's got that. Obviously Amsterdam, kind of like the party vibe. Obviously Sammy's always got that party vibe going.
Well, and yeah, it's written about Amsterdam because that's where Alex and Eddie are from. Yeah. Yep.
But to me, why I really like Balance is for like the deep cuts. And you don't have to really look anywhere other than the first track to get that right off the bat. Like, the Seventh Seal to me is probably one of the best tracks on the album.
100% agreed.
And it sets the tone for the rest of the album. And, for those of you, obviously, we probably got a lot of new people listening that maybe haven't heard the Balance record from Van Halen. So if you haven't, I'm going to sample the Seventh Seal, and I'd like some feedback. But I know, Aaron, you and I love this track.
Absolutely.
So I'm going to sample this out.
While you're pulling it up, I'm just going to say something about the track while you pull that up. I don't know if you knew this, but the Seventh Seal, Eddie got the motivation to write that riff and that track. He was dealing a lot with his counselor that got him sober, and he was like into all this spiritual. He was getting this real spiritual vibe, and if you listen to the opening, it's got. You'll hear it. Let's play it, and we'll talk about it.
Okay.
Yeah, so as I was saying, now that we heard it, that opening is just like mystical overtones. You know what I mean? It's got that mysticism, it's almost like a U2 layered arpeggiated opening riff. It's just so different from anything they've done before. And it just came from like I don't know, different place, like a darker place. It's so interesting. And what I was saying was Eddie's therapist urged him to relax and imagine where he was after drinking a 6-pack of beer. When he came up with that, he said he wrote 3 songs in 20 minutes. So it's awesome.
It's just everything about the song is awesome. Like, obviously, I love Sammy's vocals. I mean, he's definitely got that, like, on this record, it seems like he had more of a deeper, darker type.
Sure. They've definitely a darker record. Yeah.
But obviously it's got, it's classic Eddie Van Halen. Like, nobody writes a riff like Van Halen. It's just everything he writes is like almost gold. If that makes sense.
I'll tell you another interesting tidbit about this record. It was produced by Bruce Fairbairn, who he produced Slippery When Wet in New Jersey from Bon Jovi, Aerosmith's big comeback album Permanent Vacation, and Razor's Edge by AC/DC. So some of the mega records from the prior decade he produced. And then I think this is actually one of the last records he produced before he passed away. Just a little tidbit, Yeah, so they had huge expectations for this record, no question.
Like I said, I don't necessarily think it's at the top of their catalog, but I think it's an album that a lot of times gets pushed down.
I agree. And I think it's a shame. I think it's a shame.
Because, and maybe it's because a lot of times for me, when obviously an album means something to me, it's what it meant at the time when I had it. And you talk about like the deep, dark lyrics on some of these tracks, and it kind of has that, and it does a lot. Like, to me, like I said, I enjoy the hits because they're phenomenal. Like, obviously, Don't Tell Me What Love Can Do. Like, I love that riff as well. Like the opening and
we just talked about that. Yeah.
Extremely heavy. But the other tracks that I think sometimes get pushed aside are Aftershock. I think Aftershock's phenomenal. The one that I actually really love is Take Me Back, Deja Vu.
Me too.
Like,
yeah.
I just love, like, how the song's written. It's really kind of.
I don't know if you knew that riff dates back like 20 years prior to the record's release.
And I didn't know that.
Yeah.
So that's another great tidbit of, obviously.
Yeah. I love Van Halen.
No,
if I might add one thing about this record, dude, this record also, and it kind of makes it a shame how they broke up after this, because this record sold 3 million copies. They had a huge tour in support of this record. And it solidified Van Halen as like one of them. I mean, they already were like rock royalty. They weren't going anywhere, but it was like you knew that Van Halen was one of the few bands that came out of the 80s, late 70s, 80s that would have like thrived into the 90s with the advent of grunge. Like, Van Halen was one of the few bands that transcended that. Van Halen, this came out in what, 94? The bands like Van Halen aren't supposed to sell 3 million records in 1994. They did it without trying. And if they had just kept doing what they were doing and plugging along, they would have kept doing it. That's a tragedy, dude. We haven't gotten into that as much as we've talked about Van Halen. But, dude, when Van Halen Balance came out and did so well, I don't think anybody saw it coming that they were not going to release anything except the Gary Cherone record for the next 20 years. Nobody saw that coming. Van Halen was like at the peak of their game. They were one of the records that transcended. For Unlawful Carnal Knowledge in 91 was a monster record. And that was like, that came out like right at that transitional period of grunge hitting, Nirvana hitting. That came out then. And then 3 years later, here comes Balance. Van Halen was just in fucking cruise control. Right? I think that's one of the biggest things I remember about this record.
It is the
tragedy. It's a record that I loved at the time and also represents the tragedy of what could have been.
I mean, I don't think I could say anything else to top that. I mean, you just nailed it. So anyway, that's my pick of the week. Balance, obviously, because of the Van Halen theme, and just a record that means a lot to me and I love, and I know you love it. Talk about the red truck.
Yeah, Jay always brings up the red truck. If people don't know us, we always talk about the red truck. When Jay and I were like teenagers, when Jay lived in Pennsylvania, I was living in Jersey at the time. So when we were 16, he got his license before me because you were able to get your license at 16 in PA and it was 17 in Jersey. He had a red pickup truck, and for those that don't know, we would cruise everywhere and just jam records, jam CDs. We had this is when everybody had a system. and we just rocked out in that red truck. So if you ever hear Jay bringing up the red truck, I'll always remind the audience what the fuck we're talking about, because it's going to be like, what are they talking about, the red truck? But that's like a big thing for me and Jay in our musical journey of like, and like being who we are today. I mean, that's our brotherhood, man. We were in that red truck all the time. I mean, records that I really think of at that time, let's be honest, dude. Balance, For Unlawful Carnal Knowledge. So Van Halen was huge at that time. Appetite for Destruction, The Illusions, Megadeth, Countdown. And then obviously, I know it's sports and metal, but let's be honest. We were jamming Cypress Hill, House of Pain,
Motley Crue,
Dre. But I'm saying even just not metal.
Yeah.
Stuff. We were doing Cypress Hill, Dre. Well, we had a diverse musical taste, you know. Tupac. Yeah, but not even so much yet. I mean, at that time, it was more like Snoop, Dre,
Biggie.
Not even yet, dude. I'm telling you, not in the red truck. It was more Cypress Hill. You're getting ahead of yourself. But yeah, you get the point.
Wu-Tang Clan. I used to jam that, but
what's that?
Wu-Tang
Clan. Yeah. Yep. But anyway, guys, awesome pick of the week, Jay. We hope everybody loved the show. Once again, before we check out, I want to thank our sponsor, La Terrain Watches. You're going to go to their website, www.laterrain.com. You're going to use our promo code S&M. That's the letter sports and metal. Well, S&M as in sports and metal. And you're going to save 10% at checkout. That's www.la-touraine.com, www.laterrain.com. Again, the promo code's S&M to save 10%. Beautifully crafted watches. Check them out. As always, we hope you enjoyed the show. And we'll see you next time, guys. Rock on.
Peace out.
And that's our show. Tune in next time for more Sports and Metal with Jason Voorhees and Aaron Savage. Woo, yeah! Got something to say? Hit us up at sportsandmetal0423 at yahoo.com or on Twitter at sportsandmetal.